NBA ratings suck this year. People like me are watching, but a lot of people aren't. And so now we're trying to figure out whose fault it is. And I think it's been an interesting conversation because people, in my opinion, are so goddamn wrong about this. We have all the simple minds. They're either blaming Steph Curry. It's all his fault because he shoots too many threes and everyone tries to copy Steph to shoot too many threes. Or it's, the lack of effort, or it's no defense. It's guys like Harden and Young who don't hustle and na. And I'm going to keep reiterating this till the cows come home, and I'm going to try to make this point quick, but it's stars and it's stories. There's no sport immune from not having stars and not having stories, especially American stars and good storylines. You are not going to get ratings. There is reason for concern, and I will at least get into that here in a second, but I will continue to say the idea that it's somehow the fault of Steph Curry or too many threes or defense, it's all horseshit. It's all dopey, dum-dum talk.
That's dopey talk. That's dopey, dum-dum talk.
NBA is struggling right now because they have no stars and they have no storylines, and the two people that they do have are getting too old. But, there is a lot of concern. There is problems. The ratings are down significantly, 28% this year in the first month in the NBA. A 1.8 million average is pathetic as far as NBA ratings go. To give you an idea, Caitlin and Angel beat that a couple times this year. WNBA, the little, we got to fund them. Oh, no one watches them. Da-da-da-da-da. Their ratings for some regular season games actually beat the NBA's current average. That is not good for a league that just signed an 11-year, $76 billion television deal with ABC, Prime, and NBC Universal. And when you look at the NBA Finals also getting around only 11 million viewing average, it is not good. This is definitely a time to panic. I agree as far as there is a ratings issue and there is an apathy issue when it goes on to the sports fans. But as far as who to blame and whose fault it is
absolutely 150%.
You're just making noise when you're faced with, you try to say, oh, it's because they don't play hard enough on defense, or it's load management, or, it's the social justice and politics. That's what's turned people away. Or there's too many games, or it's a style of play and shoot too many threes. Those all have a little bit, but I would say 2% most. Mostly you're just, again, making noise with your mouth. The biggest problem, because if you look at the actual numbers, and let me repeat this before I move on to the next point. From 2016 to 2020, that's 8 to 4 years ago. Ratings were great. Finals were 18 to 20 million. People were watching and talking all over the place. The league itself, they only shoot now 10 more threes per game than they did during that era. I mean, they've just extended like 2-3 feet back, but they still shoot just the same jump shots that they did. And for people that are doing the whole, the hypocrisy, and I love this one, is the idea, oh, well, there's no defense. I only like to watch defense. Bitch, we had to change the rules. Am I the only one old enough to remember? In the early 90s, we had to change the rules to become more acquiescent to the offensive player because people were complaining that the scoring was too low and the game was too boring and they need to see more scoring. Now you get more scoring, and now you just complain there's not enough defense. See what I'm saying? It's just fans are just nah. And you're all missing the point entirely. So I need you to hit this next picture here for me, Corey, because the fact is the same for this sport, for any other sport, and I will try to tell y'all till you understand. If you don't have stars and you don't have stories, you don't have shit. The NBA is no different. They need stars and they need stories to replace Steph and LeBron, and they need new American stars to do, though. This has not been a new thing or anything else we've had to discover. Since 1980, as I put the stars that have saved the NBA up there, it has continued to be the same thing. In 1980, they were on tape delay. Then by 1987, Magic and Bird took them from 7 million to 24 million. Then it fell down to around 17 million. Then MJ and the Bulls showed up. Now we had new stars. We had new storylines. Next thing you know, 1998, they got 29 million people watching the NBA Finals. Fell all the way down to 9 million. Then by 2010, Kobe Bryant shows up. He takes on the Boston Celtics. Now they're back up to 18 million. Then after that, we got spoiled because we had Steph or LeBron in pretty much every NBA Finals from 2011, 2019, averaged 15 to 20 million. But the idea that suddenly in the last 5 years that the game has completely changed and it's all the defense and it's this and it's that and it's all their fault and it's Steph Curry and the threes. You're just, again,
150% your fault.
You're making noise with your face. You're not making an actual point, because the fact is people were complaining about the ratings of Major League Baseball the last 4 years. They had the lowest ratings in World Series history the last 4 years running since 1963. They got Shohei, they got Judge, ratings did just fine. WNBA was doing so bad, not only should they have been bankrupt, they were losing in reruns to Chopped. Their live games were losing to reruns of Chopped. Caitlin and Angel showed up, now suddenly the league's doing great. Boxing. which has really needed some stars, especially American stars for a while, got Jake Paul and Mike Tyson in a gimmick fight. Did you know that fight actually got viewership that rivaled the Super Bowl? They're guessing somewhere around $110 million. Again, stars, stories, interesting. All the idea and all this thing we like to try to make ourselves believe that we're this really educated and into it fan and we understand the nuances. No, you don't. You like good, easy storylines. You like a good star. You like someone that you can relate to and root for, and that's pretty much the same for every single sport. The NBA has nothing else to do but try to figure out who those stars are going to be. And, I mean, that is going to be the bigger issue going forward. As, you know what, I'll just throw in the next picture. Hit it for me, Corey, because this is the problem. We have Anthony Edwards, and that's it. When it comes to American stars, and I'm tired of apologizing for this. I have brought this up before, and people have gotten at me and been like, what do you mean? What are you trying to say? I'm trying to tell you that there is no story right now in the NBA with stars that American fans can relate to, whether it's Wemby, whether it's Luka, whether it's Giannis, whether it's Joker, whether it's Embiid. They're all great people, and they're all great players, but this is no different than if, like, the European Soccer League was suddenly taken over by Texans. Matter of fact, ask any person that has played either basketball or soccer overseas how they get treated by fan bases overseas. The idea that we're immune to wanting to root for somebody that comes from here or someone that we relate to a little bit more versus a foreign person is not this, I don't know, it gets twisted into this like MAGA kind of, you know, and it ties in with this idea that it's almost not cool to like your country and the whole thing. But the fact is, American stars equal good television ratings. And when you have a league just carried by foreign stars, just like here or anywhere else, it doesn't work. We need stars. We need stories. I mean, Cleveland versus Memphis is not doing it. Boston versus Oklahoma City is not doing it. But, I mean, as you can see by the picture, other sports have all fallen the same thing. All those sports behind Anthony Edwards are struggling currently as far as trying to get people's attention. And look what the same problem is. Tyson Fury and the Klitschko's in boxing just killed boxing ratings after we lost like Tyson, Holyfield, Lewis, all those guys. Baseball just had its resurgence, and yes, Shohei was a big part of that. He's kind of an exception, but he had to also take on the New York Yankees and Aaron Judge, I think, to help with that. I think if Shohei was still in Los Angeles on the Angels, and it was the Anaheim Angels, going against San Diego Padres, I don't think the ratings would have been there. Tennis has been long forgotten. I mean, women have kind of held, the Williams sisters kind of held onto it for a while. And other than that, when all the Federers and all the other ones took over, we lost all of our care for tennis. Tiger Woods and golf, I don't even want to get into that. But, I mean, they've got all sorts of problems. But once we lost Tiger, we lost our star. We don't care anymore. The fact is very, very simple, and it's the same as the NBA. We are not immune to wanting to see somebody from America do their thing. I mean, if you look at the biggest rating dips, and I actually looked this up, the biggest rating dips over the last, 30 years was in the NBA Finals was Houston, when they won their championships 94-95, led by Olajuwon. The Spurs had some of the worst ratings of all time. And, I mean, besides Tim Duncan being just as boring as hell, it was, Parker, Ginobili, all these other guys. They had some of the lowest ratings of all time from 1999 to 2005. Then we had the pandemic. That was also low ratings. But also right after that, the lowest in the last 5 years were the Bucks, the Nuggets, and the Mavs. Giannis, Jokic, Luka. I am not just making this shit up. I am not trying to just, get off on some tangent here. I'm telling you, unless we get some new stars from around here that we can relate to that are also are ready. And that's the other problem. Some of the stars that we have just aren't ready. Ja Morant is too busy trying to, impersonate Papa Doc from 8 Mile. LaMelo is literally... I mean, you look at him post-game. Go look up LaMelo post-game interviews with his teeth shining and everything else, saying things like no homo and cussing and all sorts of stuff. He's out of his rabbit-ass mind. You can't put him at the top of the cereal box. Jason Tatum is like Shang Tsung. He has a personality for everyone else but himself. De'Aaron Fox is okay, but I don't think he's enough to carry the Steph or LeBron anchor, so to speak. We need somebody to follow in their footsteps, and that is the main reason the NBA is struggling. It's not anything else y'all are saying. Sorry, I got a lot to get into. Like I said, I'm trying to cram it all in. Another thing that they're hoping will save